Hello everyone, this is Jess from J Rose Alchemic Art, and welcome back to another video. In this one, I thought we would do a official little office tour slash how exactly I organize all of my art. Me personally, I am kind of a chronic unorganized person. I definitely just kind of stuff things wherever they manage to fit and just hope for the best when I can try and find it later. But I know that's not really a good system, so over the past few years, thankfully I have my fiance who helps me to try and be at least a little bit more organized, but I thought I would show off some of the different products and things that I have found that help me to stay a little bit more on task, kind of keep all of my different art supplies and mediums all organized into different areas, and just talk about things in general. So if you're at all interested in organizing your space, feel free to follow along. So first thing you might notice when you walk into the office is, yes, things are still not perfectly organized per se, but this is still the space that I enjoy working in. I don't always work in here. Sometimes I will actually work out. You might see me in other areas of the house, but sometimes it's nice to just come in here and have a safe space to relax and things like that. So you might notice, of course, that Appa here is sitting on top of some art pieces that we still need to hang inside the room here. But for the most part, the office space is mostly finished. So a couple things that we'll start out with. Obviously, there are a lot of books. I do a lot of reading. I've not read quite everything on the bookshelf here, but there are lots of different things. A lot of manga, if you couldn't tell. I used to actually read more when I was younger, but ended up kind of giving up during that time of my childhood. Being interested in that sort of thing was not as acceptable as it is now. So now that I am able to kind of not really care, I guess, what other people think, I'm a little bit more, I got back into it essentially. So it's kind of ironic, but things happen to come full circle as you grow older. That's okay. The actual desk here itself, when I was sharing this space with my fiance, we have now actually come separately, but this was actually the desk that I was primarily using. Obviously my computer setup, I do have little Barry from Little Hecky, if you follow her at all. My Cricut, actually, I do have a fun little desk mat. There is Lucy and Midnight, and then lots of little trinkets up above here as well. So again, you can kind of tell there's a bit of chaos here, but things also have their own space in my mind at least. So including my own little happy 500 for reaching 500 subscribers on YouTube. So otherwise, lots of different plushies. There's a various assortment of things in those drawers, which we are not going to get into because that would take way too much time. But the desk here also is very fun. Again, you can spot Thank Shoes, little bunny there. So otherwise, yeah, if you couldn't tell, a lot of my traditional art that I do and sketching and what have you, I used a lot of the supplies here. Again, this is something that I have grown all of these supplies. I did not acquire it over like a day or anything. So this is kind of like years of accumulation of art supplies. I also happen to have lots of washi tape in this little chest here, so I don't use them frequently enough. I use them when I package my orders, but otherwise, sometimes I use them in like little journal spreads, but I also don't journal consistently. If you're also like that, feel free to let me know in the comments, and let me know if you have any tips on being a little bit more proactive with that. I'm trying to be better, but yeah, not great with it. I also do keep my iPad here if I can, just because it's easier to find if I keep it in one central location. So typically it will rest here on the side of the desk, and then obviously I will use the space if I need to draw. Over in the closet here, this is really where a majority of my art and shop supplies are. So on this side, we do have a nice little blanket here in case I get cold. But on this side, yeah, you can tell a little bit of the chaos resumes. But again, it's just kind of what works for me. Perhaps in the future I will get better, but for now, it is what it is. So up above here, I do have a label maker. a couple of different like tissue paper and boxes for larger orders in case I need them. This is actually specifically my box if you have followed along before when I do my artist alley and markets. This is specifically the box that I bring whenever I have like extra emergency supply. So that is personally how I kind of try to organize and throw things in there. There's still a couple things in there now actually. But yeah, just like scissors, tape, things like that that you never know you might end up need. Down below it though, up above here we do have all of the completed clay items. This is for obviously again the shop and for my markets and conventions. So those are all sitting in there peacefully. Right below that, this is actually the box of Midnights. So if you couldn't tell, obviously I had Midnight the Ghost plushie there on my shelf, but I still have about 30 more left. I ordered, I can't remember how many I ordered, but regardless, the remaining are in here, but I am actually starting to get lower in supply, which is kind of exciting. It makes me happy to know that there are a couple Midnights running around. Inside here is my cauldron for my cauldron pools. Has something that I bring along again for conventions, and then something that I run on my shop too. If you ask for it, you will get a free cauldron pool, as well as if you, there's also an option on my shop to get extra cauldron pools. So they're just little freebies, like free little clay pieces, or I think a sticker pack, things like that. So just something that I like to keep there in case I need it. Right next to it and down below we will start, this is actually like all of my clay supplies. So we have the clay pasta roller just in case I do need to pull it out. And then we also have lots of the clay, obviously. So specifically the Craft Smart little board that I use primarily when I'm sculpting. You can tell I just kind of leave an assortment of clay on there sometimes. I know that's not necessarily the best practice, but it is typically what I do a lot of the times. These are some of the finished clay pieces, obviously. They still need to be baked and eventually glazed, but I just haven't got around to baking them yet. So, but in each of the drawers here, we do have unopened clay. So again, this is pretty much my extra supply of all the clays that I use a lot, and I just have extra so that way I don't have to run to the store very often. And here we have some different sculpts and things. I don't typically use a lot of molds. They were more like Christmas presents and things like that, and just like general ideas for if I ever want to try something new, and especially if they're a little bit more difficult, then I will try those actually. So it depends on how advanced in like the skills you're wanting to work on. This is just kind of a miscellaneous drawer here, so I have some extra paper towels because I need those especially when I'm glazing. Some little glass bottles in here. This is good for just if you ever want to make, again, different things with. I've tried to put like little ghosties in there. Not been super successful yet, but that's okay. And then some aluminum foil. Again, I use aluminum foil a lot if I'm making like a larger clay piece, and I need that as like a base to kind of make, especially like my grassy little graveyard scenes. Sometimes it's nice to have that structured setting. In this corner, actually, and up above here as well, we have opened clay. So if I don't leave it out on my clay table here, then I will put it in these drawers here as well. And again, it just helps me to try and keep organized and know that I don't need to buy more pieces of clay. In here, I do have my mica powder. Again, some more open clay, I should say, but this is actually part of the original set that I bought like when I first started clay making. But it's a pink for the blush and black for the eyes and mouth of my ghost. So I have finally started pretty much dwindling down on that. And it's kind of exciting. But we also have some beads here. Again, this is for other future clay projects, possibly maybe some bracelets or keychain designs. And here I do have my very first, I believe these are 11 by 16 art prints. So I'm hoping to bring those to the shop one day. But for now, obviously it's going to be sitting in there. In here we have, unfortunately, the Graveyard of Broken Ones I just can't quite make myself throw them away. I don't know, they have some sentimental value, so it's nice to pull them out and look at them too and remember, like, hey, yeah, I worked really hard on this, but maybe I probably should throw them away. In here I do have my very first largest clay piece that I did. That was actually my clay graveyard, and then we have some additional, again, supplies that I've gotten from like Amazon and things, so in case I ever want to include those in some clay designs for later. And here we do have my super glue, always a good thing to have on hand, especially with clay. Sometimes it's a good idea to actually use that to make sure that your pieces don't break in the future. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge at the bottom drawer there. I also have some satin glaze, some clay softener, things like that. In the drawer above, we do have a lot of cutters. I actually just got these for Christmas, so I'm excited to use them. But especially like if you need specific shapes, so like stars, I think I have some hearts in here, diamonds, things like that. And then this is also where I have I had gotten this on Amazon, I believe, but these are actual like punch cards for earrings, so kind of nice, so it can dangle on something instead of just, you know, putting it on your table and hope that it's fine. But this is specifically also the clay earring section. So again, I have a couple of stencils, the actual like backings for the earrings, and then my little pliers and wire cutters, if you will. So I have all of that there. And then the final drawer up here, this is actually all of my sculpting supplies. Again, all of this took me a very long time. I have been sculpting with clay for over 2 years now. I'm still not perfect at it, but I have obviously accumulated more supplies over the years by either gifts or buying them myself. So between different paintbrushes for glazing, obviously some sculpting things, I would say honestly this is pretty much the one that I use the most for. This is how I make my indents for my eyes for my clay pieces. And yeah, I sometimes use this brush for like different textures, but really, I mean, you can make it your own and you can find different techniques that'll work for you to get either the texture or the exact specifications that you want for your clay piece. So you just have to take your time and figure things out that work for you. On the other side here, this is actually kind of my pride and joy as far as my art organization goes. These are actually, I think I found this at like an organization store specifically. I will probably put it down below because I cannot recall the name of it off the top of my head now. But yes, this is how I organize all of my stickers, as well as my enamel pins, keychains, and acrylic keychains. So obviously there are a lot of supplies in here. You can tell that I'm not quite finished organizing because I do still have more enamel pins that I need to actually put on the backing cards. These are the newest ones. I got a couple of them done, but I don't have them all done. And then these are the jumbo clay pins, or jumbo enamel pins, because unfortunately I still have not had time to figure out a backing card for them. They are still available in the shop, and if someone does order one, then I will definitely figure it out. But for right now, they're still going to remain in the bag until I get it. But sometimes, especially when I do not have space quite in the organizer, I probably should just get another one and like put it up above or something. But for right now, like, I have acrylic keychains and more keychains in here. Obviously all of the spaces here are filled up, but for right now they sit in their boxes that they initially came in, so that's okay. I also do have my button press. This is the actual machine itself, and then there are some supplies up above as well to actually make the buttons. But yeah, this is pretty much the closet where I keep a lot of my art supplies and my shop items. So in case you were curious, that is how I essentially keep that organized. And then the final section over here, I do have my bags that I use for, you know, various outings and what have you, as well as just this section altogether for, again, more art supplies. So in this section, this is specifically like yarn, markers, things like that, that I am still not good at using all of those supplies, but I do still use them, especially for like pieces that I may not be the most proud of, but I do actually work on them in my sketchbook. Speaking of sketchbooks, if you are like me and you have a million of them, I'm a little embarrassed to show this, but yeah, I'm not even going to open that up all the way. Basically, that is full of sketchbooks. Never actually completed any. That's why we're still working on the one, and you know, we're getting closer every day. That's still a goal for this year, is to try and finish my sketchbook. And here, though, we have all of the art packing supplies, so any orders on my shop, obviously I have my bags that I will package all of my orders in. Behind there is actually some more tissue paper, all of the poly mailers in case I need to package them. And then, yeah, I think I'm not going to go into some of these other drawers because they are not really pertaining to art. But yeah, obviously, this is not a perfect system, but I'm also not a perfect person. So that we try and make it what I can. And yeah, for my brain, this is kind of the best way that I can organize it myself, unfortunately. Again, certainly not the most perfect, you know, office, but to me it is what works especially well. And clearly I still have things that I need to continue to work on to organize and make, you know, more suitable for making art. But this is actually the one that's worked the best for me, as far as especially packing orders for my shop, making sure that I can still find all of these supplies and materials that I've used throughout the years. But this has also been an ongoing journey over the last 5 years of making art. Actually, will be coming up in, I think, April or March, something like that. But yeah, I officially started getting back into art in 2020, and some of those sketchbooks that I have in this dress drawer over here are actually specifically from like when I was a child. So again, not a perfect room, not a perfect setup, but it is what works for me. So yes, obviously I have grown a lot of these art supplies and obviously shop items, things that I have created over several years, if you couldn't tell. I have been able to grow my practice quite a lot, be able to create a lot of different things, which is amazing and not something that I would have ever expected when I first started getting into art. And you definitely get the sense that, especially when you're first starting out, that you're never going to improve, you'll always kind of stay stuck in that same groove. But then it's nice to keep some of those things and actually find out, wow, even though I think I've been stuck in this rut for the last, couple of years, I really have been able to grow in a lot of different ways. So I always recommend to people that you do, keep pictures, keep images, and obviously even some of the original art that you've created over the years. I recommend keeping it because it is kind of fun to just look back at and reminisce like, oh, yeah, maybe I did actually make a difference over all of these years. But yeah, this is how I have essentially been able to curate and keep mostly organized for my art in my studio. But obviously there is still work to be done. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and if you have any recommendations on, keeping your supplies fairly organized or some of the items that you create, please feel free to share them in the comments below. Again, I am definitely what you would call probably a maximalist. I have a hard time throwing things away sometimes, but I'm also trying to get better at it and keep a little bit more organized, so it's easier to keep things in track. But thank you so much for watching this one. I really do hope that you enjoyed it, and if you'd like to, feel free to continue to follow along by subscribing. But until the next time, I hope that you all have a wonderful day.